all in Menard County and the southern half of Tazewell. So it actually goes from north end of Springfield all the way to a little slice of Pekin. So about 110,000 people at each State House district has in it. So it's a great area for me. My wife and I have lived in Springfield for 20 years, and we lived in Lincoln for a few years before that. So and I grew up in Peoria, so I spent most of my time as on this earth in central Illinois. I lived in Washington, D.C. for a few years. I spent my summers in college up in the Chicago area. I went to school at EIU, so spent a lot of time in central Illinois and everything. But it's an honor for me to represent this district. It's a great area to represent with a lot of great people. So it's been fun for me to be in there. And if you don't know my background, I know a few of you do. I worked, like I said, I grew up in Peoria, went to school at EIU. I spent a few years out in Washington, D.C. and worked on Capitol Hill after I got out of school. And then I worked for Ray LaHood, previous Congressman LaHood, for the entire time that he was in the U.S. House for 14 years. And then went to work at St. John's, at St. John's Hospital for about 3.5 years. I was Director of Marketing at St. John's. And then right before I got into this position, I worked for Rodney Davis, who's a congressman, my congressman, actually on the north end of Springfield, but not your congressman here in Sherman. That's how it works. So it's Rodney, Darren's obviously the congressman out here, but Rodney's my congressman on the north end. So I worked for Rodney for a couple of years, which was a lot of fun to work for somebody who's been a good friend for a long time. So I've been in for about 3.5 years. Rich Brower was my predecessor, and Rich took a job at IDOT. And when Rich went to IDOT, it's an appointment process in Illinois to fill a vacancy. So Republican County Chairman Rosemary Long had a little bit to do with that. But it's an appointment process. I was one of 17 people that applied. And as I tell people, I either got the short straw or the long straw. I'm still trying to figure out which one I got. So I've been in about 3.5 years. I'm in my second term, and it's just an honor for me to serve. It's a challenging time to be in the Illinois General Assembly. We've come off, a historic budget impasse for 2 years that impacted the state a lot. We've got a lot of big issues that face us as a state, but it's an interesting time to be there, and I enjoy it. And I get involved in a variety of issues in the House. Obviously, I represent a lot of state employees here in the Springfield area, especially, and Logan and Sangamon counties. Not only do we have a lot of state employees because of state government, but because of state government here, but I've got 2 prisons in the district in Lincoln. There's Logan and Lincoln Correctional Centers. We have several state facilities throughout the district, so obviously the issues surrounding state employees are a big issue with me. But I get involved with a lot of tourism issues. Tourism is a big issue for us in this area as well. I'm on a couple of committees. I'm on a committee that has to do with public utilities in our state, so a lot of the issues when it comes to utilities in our state I get pretty involved with. I'm on the Environment Committee. And so it's a lot of issues. My committee assignments line up with a lot of issues that I'm passionate about. It's going to be interesting moving forward. Obviously, we've got a big election this fall, and whoever wins the governor's race is going to have a big impact on how we move forward as a General Assembly and what the issues are that are going to be for us next spring. We're currently not in session right now. We'll go back in session in November, the week before and the week after Thanksgiving for veto session to act on any of the bills that the governor has vetoed. And then the new General Assembly, the 101st General Assembly, gets sworn in the second week in January, and then we'll be in session from January through May is our usual session of the General Assembly. So a lot of the issues that will be before us next spring will be dependent on how the governor's race turns out, how things want to go. I'm Republican, as many of you probably know. It can be frustrating being in the minority, but I try to work together with folks across the aisle and find good things to work on that I think are good things for the state of Illinois. And I think people are probably surprised to know there's a lot of us on both sides of the aisle that actually work together more than people would think, or more than you see in the public eye. And I spend a lot of my time trying to get to. I obviously know the folks on my side of the aisle, the Republican side, so I spend a lot of time on the other side trying to get to know folks and figuring out what their issues are, because the 110,000 people that I represent have carried the same weight as the 110,000 people from somebody from the north side of Chicago. So we got to figure out how to get along and move the state forward. So with that, I introduced Rosemary Long, who's a good friend and is Republican County Chairman here in Sangamon County, if you don't know her. Todd Smith is a good friend as well, county board member. So we've got some people that if you've got hard questions, I'm sure they're happy to answer them. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Or see, it's even. There you go. Yes.
Okay. My name is Kathy Schwab. I live down here in Steeplechase. I worked for the state of Illinois for 35 years.
Yep.
The last agency that I worked for was Commerce and Economic. We were in the workforce and I was the staff to the Illinois Workforce Investment Board.
Okay.
And I was the agent in the governor's office. I know about looking at, we're still working with them. I had a niece who had special needs. The girl has tried everything you can imagine to get a job. She's been to the workman office in Martin County, where she was needed work. She's been to the workman office in Springfield. She's been for a short time. Go to get a job anywhere. What resources are out there for people like her that have tried everything? I know the system. I know where she's supposed to go. I've sent her where she's supposed to go. She's done everything you can imagine. She has limits, but she also has lots of capabilities.
Yeah.
What can we do for people like her?
So what's been in her way from finding employment?
She has a speech impairment to start with, and she only has 40% hearing in 1 year, but she doesn't have hearing aids. She's developmentally delayed. I don't think that her communication skills are what's causing the roadblocks that she's reaching. She can communicate, but sometimes you have to ask her again, what did you say, or she doesn't hear you. But she can't, she has challenges like with math. She can't do anything that would be like working a cash register or making change or anything like that. But the girl she could do laundry, she can do housekeeping, she can do, she could serve food in the dining room. Stock shelves, yeah. There's so many things that she can do, but she's had people interviews with people that I don't know. I don't want to say they're discriminating because I don't know that, but it seems to me when she goes for the interviews and we see her and we talk to her, that's where she's never been into the debt. She had one very short stint that she was able to get a job through Spark.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna mention, Spark, yeah.
Yeah, she hasn't been back to Spark lately. She's been trying to work with personnel, but she's just got roadblocks. Now she's engaged. He has some special needs too. They just want a job. They just want to be able to provide for themselves, and they can't get anywhere. And my brother, who's her dad, he's a poor guy. He's dyslexic, so he's had issues his whole life too. He doesn't know about the benefits that are out there for people like her. He doesn't know where to send her. So I'm kind of serving service with him. I've emailed everybody you can imagine, and we're just not getting anywhere. So when I saw your card coming in on access to services, it's like, I'm going.
Yeah, I think, first of all, I think we've got the laws on the books, so people shouldn't be discriminated against when they
We
want
can
to.
prove it.
Yeah, and it's a hard thing to prove, but it's certainly, we've got the laws on the books for that. I think it then becomes in how we, programs that we have in place to make sure that these folks are lined up with people who do also want an employment, and maybe are looking to hire folks like this. Spark's a great program, it's a great organization to line up stuff like that. They do good things to employ folks with disabilities. And I've been through several of their, I've been out on the east side with their big place they've got on the east side. I know that they have people lined up with several state agencies as well. I know they help staff the cafeteria at the Department of Natural Resources and things like that. So maybe it's something where we can work through Spark a little more. But again, as is the case, I think with a lot of things that we talk about, it's a matter of resources in the state of Illinois, and we're really limited given our kind of budget climate on expanding some of these services that we offer. So, I'm happy to have some conversations with DCO to find out if there's. You probably know it a lot better than I do, it sounds like, but I'm happy to have some conversations to see if there's.
I've got a copy of the email that I sent out and leave it with.
Sure, with Rachel from the office over there.
Yeah, and maybe just anything that anybody could do just to give her a foot in the door.
Right.
And all she wants, I've seen so many people over the years that just totally abuse the system. And all she wants is a chance.
Right.
And she's home to work. She wants a living just like everybody else wants. I mean, she's never going to be a rocket scientist, but doesn't mean she can't live a good life, and we have to do something. That's what everybody wants.
Does she drive?
She does drive.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'll leave that.
Yeah, so Rachel Tabor over there, I think Rachel works in my office and helps me out on a lot of stuff, so feel free
Very good.
to- she's very good.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I have found that the Open Meetings Act has weak language in certain areas of the act. For instance, with regards to meeting minutes being approved, it says they are to be approved within 30 days of the meeting or at the second subsequent meeting, whichever is later. Well, second subsequent, does that mean that it could be over a year before they meet again and approve the minutes? And that's exactly what's happened here in Sherman, and I have a real issue with that. And so, I think that the law is weak in that regards, and so I think it needs some shoring up. So for instance, second subsequent meeting to happen within 90 days, or something to that matter, to cut it off, give it a limit, so that they can't wait a year and a half to meet again to approve minutes. There's another issue with the Open Meetings Act where it says that the minutes should include a summary of discussion. Well, if there's no discussion, then there's no summary. It doesn't list the listing, the Open Meetings Act specifically states what needs to be required in meeting minutes. It doesn't include anything about totals of amounts of money being spent. So for instance, if a contract is approved or awarded for road construction or construction of a park, for instance, or something, and that award of that construction grant or loan or whatever is over $1 million, they don't specifically state that at the meeting, then it's not included in the meeting minutes. And I think the taxpayers need to know these things, especially like even for instance, I was on the school board for 12 years and we always approved our bills payable. And we always stated when we made a motion to approve the bills payable, we always included the total amount of the bills being paid. So that total amount was always included in the minutes. Our village board here in Sherman doesn't do that. So the taxpayers never know how much the bills every month are being paid or every meeting is being paid. They never know the amounts of the treasurer's reports because those are never included in the minutes either. And they're not provided on the website, so you have to file a FOIA to get that information. The taxpayers' money is being used at every meeting to pay bills and to do these things, but yet nobody knows how much it is unless you FOIA it. And I have a real problem with that.
So, I certainly can take a look at some of the LMA issues and talk to the Attorney General's office on it. They're the experts when it comes to the Open Meetings Act. We have, I think, over the last couple of years, passed several pieces of legislation when it comes to transparency and trying to create better access to public documents for the public. There's certainly still a process you have to go through, and I think rightly so because a lot of these public institutions are small bodies that don't have the resources that maybe we do in the state of Illinois to comply with a lot of this stuff, so it makes it difficult sometimes when you have one or two people that are overseeing an organization and you're getting asked for thousands of pages of emails and things like that. So there's a balance there, but certainly providing as much information as we can to the public is important.
Well,
and if there are changes we need to make to the Open Meetings Act, I'm happy to do it. I mean, one thing I just you might have seen the newspaper today with the Lincoln top hat, and Representative Ives filed a bill yesterday that would say that the foundation, the Presidential Museum's foundation, would be subject to the OMA and to FOIA, and that's something I told her to put down as a co-sponsor because I think that's an important thing to do. So, I think we're going to continue to take a look at these issues. There's things that come up all the time, and part of it also is an education with local officials. We have so many governmental bodies in the state of Illinois that a lot of times people get into the elected positions and they're not familiar with what the requirements are for FOIA and that. So
But they are required to get training.
Yeah, right,
Within
they
so
are.
many days of
Yep.
getting elected. And, and that's a good thing, and I agree with that. But again, I think it goes back to weak language in the Open Meetings Act that needs a little shoring up. And the good thing is that now, for years now, documents are being produced on computers, not typewriters. So they're in electronic format. How hard is it to download that electronic format to your website so that it's readily available to the public instead of making them file a FOIA request and then having that burden on their FOIA officer to comply with all these FOIA requests? If you put them on your website, then people don't have to file a FOIA request, So that lightens the load of the FOIA requester or the FOIA officer. So, and it gives the taxpayers readily available information. So, these documents are already used to put on computers, they're already in electronic format. It's not difficult to put that information on your website. They have audits on their website and budgets, but they don't have any treasurer's reports or accounting of what the bills are being paid and how the taxpayers' money is being spent.
I've known Tim for years, so I definitely support him. He is the best.
I'm gonna take you with me too. So for those of you who don't know, there's a couple people in the room that we used to run together with the Springfield Railroad. So I think there's only one of us that's still running.
Well, you can tell I don't.
Slowly.
Maybe when I get to retirement, I'll start running again. But I got another one. Yeah, all sorts of
We're still trying.
Yeah.
That's my only comment.
Okay.
I think
No, I appreciate it, yeah.
I think the law needs to be looked at and.
Yeah, and I'm not, I haven't gotten overly involved in a lot of the FOIA OMA issues just because I'm not on committees to line up with that. But certainly, I certainly understand the importance of them and the need for it. And obviously, these are public institutions. The public has the right to know what's going on.
If you're gonna have a law and it has no teeth, then what good is the law? The law needs to have some teeth to hold our elected officials accountable.
What's the status of the convention of the states here in Illinois?
So there was a resolution that was introduced in this General Assembly by Ralph Martwick, who's the rep from Chicago. I'm a co-sponsor of that. It basically sends a resolution to Congress calling for a convention of the states so an Article 5 convention to look at balanced budget and term limits specifically. It didn't go anywhere in this General Assembly. It has a lot of co-sponsors, but it didn't. I thought we were going to get a vote on it, and Rob Martwick's a Democrat, and I kind of thought we would be able to get it, but we haven't gotten out there so far. I'm hopeful that still got obviously a couple months to go in this session, but I'm sure it'll be reintroduced if it doesn't get through this time. And be reintroduced in the 101st General Assembly, and then hopefully it's something we can push out there. I think it's I think it's important to send our views to Congress on that, let them know we'd like to see things happen on the federal level. Hard to do with that.
I was reading the organization Illinois Policy Institute was talking about there's 6 or 7 Democrats that decided not to run for the legislature. What does that look like as far as maybe getting Republicans in?
Yeah, so in the House there's 118 House members, and we all come from it's geography, so our districts don't overlap. Everybody has a different district they represent. There's 118 members, and we have I think 25 members of the House that have said they weren't going to seek re-election. They've either retired or not going to seek re-election. So it's a pretty high number this year. And it was almost evenly split between Republicans and Democrats. I think it was 12 Republicans, 13 Democrats that decided not to run for re-election. So we've got a lot of turnover as it is. And everybody in the House is up for re-election this year, all 118 members. I think it's it's going to be interesting to see how the election goes, because historically, the party of the new president doesn't do well in the first election after that. And obviously, we see a lot of things nationally going on about everything when it comes to the president. So, I'm optimistic that we can pick up seats in the House. I try not to speak ill of my fellow members, but, Mike Madigan, I was 3 years old when Mike Madigan got elected to the House. I'm 51. And I just, I've been a big advocate for, I believe in term limits, I co-sponsor term limits. I really believe in redistricting reform to have a nonpartisan commission draw maps. But something I really, really believe in is, I actually think we need it in our Constitution to say that leadership term limits as well. You can only serve 10 years, no matter which party, then you can only serve 10 years or whatever in the leadership position, speaker or minority leader. And I think those are important because, I just, look, I'm not going to do this job forever. I've done it for a few years. I can guarantee I'm not going to be here 20 years from now. My wife will probably shoot me if I'm doing this. But there's good people that can do these jobs. I'm not Rich Brower. Rich Brower did a good job. I'm not Rich Brower. Somebody comes in behind me, it's going to be different. But there's plenty of good people that can do these jobs. And I actually learned that from the Roadrunners Club. Is where I learned that. Because when you get on a board and you get into a position and you kind of do your own thing on the board, but at some point you got to leave and leave it to the other people to have the confidence that the people coming behind you are going to do a good job. And I think that's part of part of who I am. So I just believe that you don't do these jobs forever and you move on. And I think we need to put a little more teeth into that about making sure that people move on. So yeah, yes ma'am.
Yeah, I'd like to just say a few words regarding our governor. I'm not saying he's done everything perfectly, but one thing that is very, very important, should be to all of us, is that the redistricting. If you love Tim Butler, there would be a good chance if the Democrats get in, you will not have him. They will redistrict him out because he's so popular. You will probably not have Congressman Wood, Congressman Rodney Davis, because they will redistrict them out. They've done it in the past. So I'm just trying to appeal to everyone to talk to your friends and neighbors. It's so important that we get along just for the remapping so that we can keep our good legislators.
How can we get that? They tried to get that into a nonpartisan or a committee that isn't benefiting from it. How can we do that?
So the way we do that is to change the Constitution in Illinois. And so there was an effort 2 years ago to put a citizen-led initiative, put a referendum on the ballot that would allow the people of Illinois to vote and create a non-partisan commission that would draw the maps every 10 years. And so after the census in 20, all the district boundaries would be redrawn for the legislature, for Congress, for your local, Todd's district will have to be redrawn, and that's all based off of the census figures every 10 years. So in Illinois, there's only there's 3 ways you can change the Constitution. You can have a constitutional convention. You can have an amendment come out of the legislature that says that we approve it. Says we're going to put this on the ballot and the citizens can vote on it. We did that 2 years ago with the Safe Roads Amendment, the lockbox for the transportation fund that was approved with 75% of the vote that says any money going into the road fund has to stay just for transportation purposes. So we did that a couple years ago. The other way is through a citizen-led initiative, which was with the redistricting reform a couple years ago. And it's a petition process. You have to get a certain amount of signatures. You go to the State Board of Elections. You have the language that you want to put on the ballot, and you submit. 600,000 people signed those petitions, more than twice as many were needed to get it on the ballot.
And what happened?
An attorney that may or may not be affiliated with the Speaker of the House went to court and got it thrown out through court system through the district in Chicago. And it was really frustrating for those of us who advocated for it. And there's a lot of members of the General Assembly on both sides of the aisle that advocate for this. And so it's really frustrating for me to see 600,000 people in Illinois wanted that on the ballot to be able to vote on it.
So the voters aren't being heard.
It would have passed overwhelmingly. So, my hope is we can either lead another citizen-led initiative, or better yet, it's easier to have it done through the General Assembly to put it on the ballot, because it only takes the approval of the General Assembly, not going to the petition. And I think I mean, I've co-sponsored that, many pieces of legislation. I think it's important, like I said, you know, it's the nice thing about not only having a nonpartisan, bipartisan commission, whatever you want to call it, that language also kind of sets some of the parameters on how you can draw maps. And it took the political data out of the equation, and that's the key, because you know, you have all the demographic data that you get from the census, but because of in Illinois, because when you go in and you vote in primaries especially, you know, we can determine if you're a hard Republican or a soft Republican, or a hard Democrat or a soft Democrat. I can pull it up on my phone right now. You know, that's how it works in Illinois. And so when they draw the maps, you have the demographic data about the area you live in, but you also draw on the political data that overlaps it, and that's how you determine where if you draw Tim Butler's house into, you know, something, you have a little arm that goes out for the map, and that's how that stuff works. And so the amendment we tried to get on a couple years ago actually said that you can't use political data to help draw the maps, which I think is a big part of it. So that's a long answer for you.
You bring up another good topic that Todd and I have debated over the years about the primary and declaring a party. And I personally believe that you shouldn't have to declare a party. And Todd happens to believe that you should declare a party. And I argue that. And if you didn't have to declare a party, then that wouldn't be an issue, because they wouldn't have that.
You know, I actually think she might shoot me. I think there should be a partisan primaries, because the partisan offices are those primaries are a function of the parties. I mean, that's Republicans nominating our person, or Democrats nominating their person, or if a third party gets out there, them nominating their, and that's you know, if I'm a Republican, I don't want 50,000 Democrats crossing over and voting the Republican primary to try to influence who our nominee is going to be. That's why. But the way around that, I think, is how we do some of our local offices. Our local offices are nonpartisan offices. So when we go to the ballot this next spring for mayor or city council, or you know, in Springfield we're going to have all 10 aldermen and the mayors up. Those are all nonpartisan offices, and you don't run in the primary. You don't run in the partisan primary. I haven't done this yet. This is the first year I'm shooting. I've actually had the thought of introducing a constitutional amendment that says the legislature should be nonpartisan offices, just like our municipalities are. Now I do that for a very distinct reason, because I think if these offices were nonpartisan, Mike Madigan wouldn't be speaker right now. And that's why I do it. But you know, and I think the partisanship does get in the way sometimes, because, like I said, there's a lot more issues that kind of bring us together sometimes than not. But the party labels get in the way sometimes. And so while I wouldn't want to eliminate the partisan primaries, I do think there's ways that around it.
Used to be, if you used to be able to assume that if a candidate was Republican, they were pro-life. And if they were Democrat, they were pro-choice. You can't assume that any longer.
But it's pretty, on that issue, it's pretty stark right now. We don't have a single pro-choice member of the Republican caucus in the House.
But you have to admit that the stance, or the parties are changing, in a sense that things that you used to assume about a candidate, either Republican or Democrat, you can't always assume it anymore.
Yeah.
It is expanding, I guess I would say, or you just can't always assume that you, like you used to be able to.
Yeah, I actually think the parties are becoming more conservative and more liberal. Like the Democrats have become more liberal, and I think more conservative. I really believe it. And so I think it's actually easier to identify, you know, where you stand because of your party affiliation than it used to be. Based filling that out?
Yeah, personal question. How
Yes, sir.
come Illinois can't make a constitutional law for motorcycle helmet wearers like other states? And the second part of that, does the state of Illinois know how many lives are lost because they didn't have the helmet law? And how many millions of dollars that is cost hospitals and states because people aren't wearing a helmet and they can't pay for their own medical expense? Could Illinois pass a law that says if you don't wear a helmet, then you have to provide medical insurance in case you have medical expenses on a motorcycle?
You know, the helmet law issue isn't one that comes up a lot. I mean, there's some discussion on it. I'll be honest, I haven't been supportive of the helmet law. I think it's a personal choice issue myself. But you have a very strong organization with the motorcycle group through ABATE especially, that they, I mean, that's like their number one issue.
And they don't want to.
Yeah, and they don't want, it's like I said, it's a personal choice issue for that. And they hold a lot of sway in the General Assembly. They've done a very good job of building relationships and telling, making their case for it and things like that. I think, it's something that, you certainly can pass a law to make it so, but I just don't see where it's going to happen in the
Could
near
you pass a
future.
law that says, just like driving an automobile, if you don't have a helmet, then you have to put up a bond to
Where you
prove
gotta
that
have
you
medical,
can take
yeah.
care of your medical? Because I guess I'm not, I mean, I never go anywhere without my helmet,
Yeah.
so I'm pro that side.
Yep, I know.
Side of that. But the thing that worries me is, what about the people that say, well, I have the right to not wear a helmet, then do you have insurance to take care of it?
Yep.
And I don't know.
We can pass that law, sure.
Is there lots and lots of money being spent? on
Yeah,
these people?
I haven't really
Maybe
looked at
not.
that to see how much money would get spent on, medical expenses of people who don't, get in accidents and specifically on that issue. I'd have to take a look and see.
Is there a report anywhere where you can find out?
Yeah, we'll take a look. See if we can find out. Yep, go ahead.
I'm a retired registered nurse who worked in surgery. It's amazing how many folks that we used to get as traumas didn't wear helmets.
Helmets, yeah.
So what,
And it is a big issue from the medical community. I've heard a lot, especially from emergency personnel about their concerns about that.
I didn't hear what she said.
She said she used to work as a trauma nurse and said
And
that.
so you saw people,
Right,
you would be pro helmet maybe?
right. She's pro helmet.
Because we had a cycle.
I wear my helmet on my bicycle, so,
Good for you.
yeah.
I have a friend that was a motorcycle rider for 2 years. He did wear a helmet. He was in Missouri in an area he wasn't familiar with. The road curved and he didn't. And he went end over end and he was severely hurt. He had a broken jaw, but his head was okay and he was okay. So,
Yep.
but if he hadn't had the helmet on, he probably would not have been.
I'm gonna change gears to my favorite part, tax.
Yes, sir.
Recently, we had an increase in our property taxes here in Sherman. And we got taxed pretty heavy. Then at the assessment, you can't find it. You don't know where it's at. I don't know if it disappeared.
Property tax assessment?
My question is to you, where do we stand on the state level of taxes in the coming years?
Sure. So a few things. One, on the income tax side of things, as you all know, the state increased income tax on individuals and corporations a year ago and raised the personal income tax rate up to just under 5%, 4.95%. And this is a big issue, as you know, this fall's election, whether or not, the idea of a graduated income tax in Illinois, which we don't have a flat tax in Illinois. Everybody pays the same rate. The idea of graduating income tax is something that's a big issue in this fall's election. And you got to change the Constitution to be able to institute a graduated income tax. So that's going to be a big issue moving forward, I think, especially the principal wins the election. In Illinois, we have, depending on the research you look at, but we have almost universally, everybody says we have one of the highest overall tax burdens out of the entire country. When you add in income tax, property taxes, sales taxes, and everything else, we have one of the highest overall tax burdens in the state of Illinois. And that's commonly thought of as one of the reasons that holds us back economically, and the reason why we see now migration of people moving to other states. The property tax issue, that's a huge concern for a lot of people. I hear from a lot of people that are concerned about property taxes. I went down to the courthouse and paid my property taxes at the beginning of the month, and the treasurer was there to greet me at the door, which was very nice of him to greet me at the door. But it's a big point of frustration when people look at their property tax bill and see what things are going through. On the flip side, I hear from a lot of, obviously our schools and our parks and things like that are concerned about property tax freeze because, our schools are getting squeezed when it comes to, the money that's going into our local schools. And a lot of us are proud of our local schools. And so it's a real balancing act to figure out where we're going to go with property taxes. I've been one that said that, a lot of people come to the state and say, can you institute a property tax for statewide, or which gets into a whole other question, freeze property taxes, but the EAD is still enough, your property taxes are still going up. But I think people need to start with their local, with their school boards and their park districts, and the people that are actually levying your property tax. I don't levy your property taxes as a state rep. We don't collect property taxes on the statewide level. That's all done on the local level. And so I think if folks are really cranked up about the property taxes, they need to start with their school boards and find out what's going on, why are property taxes going on. But I do think there's a strong push in the General Assembly to institute some sort of property tax freeze. It's become quite a political game at the legislature about it. Since I've been in there, I think we've had over 20 votes in the House on property tax freeze, but of course it hasn't gone anywhere because both parties continue to use it as a political issue. So, but there's a lot of support, I know, in the General Assembly for property tax freeze, and we're going to, we'll see if that gets instituted in the future.
3 things on that topic. First, Sangamon County is held by PTEL. So PTEL is basically it's a tax cap. So every year your property taxes cannot increase by 5% or whatever CPI is, and normally CPI is lower than the 5%. So, and that's on existing property, not new property. Every year there's new property that comes on the tax rolls that's been built in that year, and new property is taxed the first year on 100% of what it's assessed at. Every year after that, it's considered existing property, and it can't go up more than 5% or CPI. And again, CPI is usually the lowest, and that's usually what holds our property taxes, the CPI. Second thing, it's important to note that yes, the majority of our property taxes do go to schools. However, it was the state legislature that decided that property taxes would be the largest portion of our property taxes. So it's not the school's fault that the largest portion of our property taxes go to the schools. That's the way the state decided that schools would be funded in Illinois. Third, every additional dollar that a school district gets for local property taxes, they lose 1/3 in state funding. So that percentage is going to continually grow in what is supported by local property taxes because of the way the law is written for state aid funding. Every additional dollar schools get on property taxes, they lose a third in state aid funding. Fourth and final point to make is that county schools in Sangamon County right now are trying to change that. They want to impose a 1% sales tax as opposed to bringing a referendum to the taxpayers of the school district every 20 years for another bond referendum to expand buildings or do building improvements because in the last 20 years they've grown, they've had building issues they need to fix, and they need to put another tax burden on the property taxes. Instead, the 1% sales tax would be used for those purposes, and they wouldn't have to keep coming to the property tax owners asking for another bond referendum to put on your property taxes. Because I've studied school history and school finance to great lengths, because I was on the school board for 12 years, and I can tell you that they always bond out for 20 years, and at the end of that 20 years, they need to grow their district again, or they need to improve roofs again, or they need more money again to do. And so once again, they're going back to the property tax owners asking for another property tax referendum for their schools. If they get the 1% sales tax, they can use that money for that, because the 1% sales tax can only be used for infrastructure and not for salaries, not for books, not for computers. It can only be used for infrastructure, buildings and pavement and that kind of thing. So that's my 4 issues, and I hope if you have any other questions, please ask me or Mr. Reed or, one of your school superintendents, because it's a shift of funds. They can also use that property tax, or that 1% sales tax, they can also use that to reduce the debt that they're paying currently from your property taxes. So every year when they levy the amount on your property taxes to pay their bond off from their last referendum, they can use that sales tax money to make those bond payments instead of levying it on your property tax. And for Williamsville School District, that is it's gotten to the point where it's almost $1 whole of what's on your levy for your property taxes. So if they can make that bond payment, that your dollar amount of your tax rate is going to the bond payment, if they can make that bond payment with the sales tax money, then they don't have to levy that bond payment on your property taxes.
As a person that's on Social Security, and I have a very modest house, it's over 1 month of my Social Security just to pay the taxes on my houses, not on my house. And so that's why I still work at 70.
Property taxes are a very frustrating issue.
So,
I've lived in our house in north end of Springfield for 15 years. We just paid it off. And so I'm in 186 in school district. We don't have any kids.
Yeah.
Most of my property taxes over the years have gone to 186, and I've never had anything that's come out of my investment in 186, other than the fact that I'm happy to try to support good schools. But property taxes are a very frustrating issue for a lot of people.
Well, and they don't make it easy for a taxpayer to challenge your property assessment. They don't make it easy, and most people will get mad. They go up there, they get the paperwork, and then they look at the paperwork and see how much work it's going to be to challenge their property assessment, and they just throw their hands up and say, forget it. I have personally challenged my property taxes more than 3 or 4 times, and I have won in every instance. But you have to know what to do, you have to know what to look for, and what data, information to submit. They don't make it easy, but it can be done.
So I got to get rolling here pretty quick. Does somebody have a question you guys have asked one or anything? Yes.
On the subject of property taxes, do you have any idea why citizens of Sherman are taxed by Springfield Park District when we don't do it in Springfield?
I don't.
I paid that
Pardon me?
I paid that property.
Yeah. No, some of Sherman does, not all of Sherman does.
That's right.
But the residents in that area or the developers, when they do that, have to get agreed to be in that district. So at some point in time, there was an agreement for those properties to be included in that taxing district. It may have been the original developer. I think it went around several years ago where there was an idea of expanding it, or Sherman going to do a park district, but to that point, that was decided long ago to be, for those subdivisions to be in the Springfield Park District.
So we can use all the.
It's not right.
Oh, yeah.
It's not right.
No, it's not.
Well, just go hike around Carpenter Park.
But it's very weird the way it's decided, because it's the rail and Quail Ridge.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, seriously? You know,
This actually kind of gets to like the redistricting issue. Boundaries for governmental entities are incredibly hard to follow. You know, where people, who their elected officials are and where their boundaries are rarely, I mean, it's a tough thing to follow. So, yeah, so the Springfield Park District comes into Sherman, or, you know, I live, my alderman, who lives 5 blocks south of me, my alderman, but I'm not his state representative. You know, that kind of stuff. You know, it's where they draw the boundaries. It's amazing. Or the fact that Rodney Davis is my congressman, but Darren Lewis is your congressman. It's weird stuff. Anybody got any last one? I got a meeting at 11 that I got to go to. All right. Well, so just go ahead.
I got one other issue I just want to bring up. There is a pot of gold waiting for the state of Illinois. It's called sports betting. I urge you to do what you can.
So,
Getting that rolling.
so I actually have been our point person in the House Republican Caucus on gaming issues has been Chad Hayes, who's from the Danville area. He just stepped down, and Leader Durkin appointed me as the point person on gaming for the House Republicans. I don't gamble, but it's certainly a huge issue for us right now. Gaming overall, the Supreme Court decision on sports betting, you know, has allowed now sports betting across the country, and I think we're falling behind because you've seen other states come on board that have allowed it, and you know, it's a tough issue because some people don't like gambling and things like that, but it is a source of revenue along with some other things we're looking at. Our problem with the gaming bill is once you open up gaming, you've got a lot of other folks. You got the casinos, and you got the horse tracks, and you got the video machine folks, which is a huge presence. Obviously, they're in Sangamon County, so there's a lot of issues that play. We actually have a hearing next month here in Springfield that's specifically about sports betting. So I'm interested to see where it's going to go. So. Again, it's a real honor for me to represent you in the State House. If I can ever do anything, feel free to contact our office. Rachel Haber works for me in my office there. You're always more than welcome to get a hold of us. You're always welcome to stop by the Stratton building. Anytime you want to come down and have a tour of our beautiful Capitol building, I'm happy to give you a tour as well. It's a tremendous building, and to represent this area of the state in the General Assembly is a big honor for me. So thank you. Thanks, guys.